It sounds pretty straightforward. You and your bike, and the clock, riding in splendid isolation as quickly as you can away from the rough and tumble of the peloton. In theory, a time trial should be a simple test of your ability to ride your bike as fast as possible over a set distance. But if only it were as easy as that. Time trial racing is one of the most challenging and rewarding aspects of cycling. It requires a unique set of skills, physical endurance, and mental toughness to achieve success. If you're looking to take your time trials to the next level, then this training video is for you. With practical tips on how to prepare physically and mentally, as well as advice on bike setup and strategy, this video will provide all the knowledge you need to dominate the time trial field. Get ready to have an edge over your competition. It's time to take your time trials to the next level. In this video about time trial training, you'll find the following. Time trials. Getting the pace right. Advanced time trial training aerodynamics. Interval training for time trials, no pain, no gain. Other top time trial tips. Time trials are the ultimate challenge for endurance athletes. First, there is nowhere to hide, no benching pack to drag you along. And it hurts. It's a maximum effort. The pain will usually last from start to finish. But whether you achieve a personal best or a personal worst, you will always be left with the same feeling when you cross the line. You will want to go faster next time. This is because time trials have that glorious habit of leaving riders hungry for more. If you're serious about getting faster, beating your quickest time over a particular course, and completing the perfect time trial, getting every little detail right is crucial, especially regarding pacing, aerodynamics, preparation, and technique. Now we'll discuss the importance of proper pacing in order to achieve your goal time. We'll go through why starting too fast could lead to a slower overall time, as well as tips and strategies on how to correctly pace yourself for optimal results. Get ready to take your race day performance to the next level. Time trials. Getting the pace right on race day. Proper pacing is everything when it comes to time trials, and getting the initial speed correct is the key to achieving your goal time. But the easy trap to fall into, and so many riders do this, is to go out too hard, so your pace slowly but surely slackens off during the ride. The result? You finish weak when you should be aiming to finish with a flourish. Patience is the key. Starting at a breakneck race pace will not lead to a better overall time. On the other hand, if you blast out at full pelt, you risk blowing up well before the end of the trial, which will lead to you running out of energy and finishing poorly. So with this in mind, the first 5 minutes of a time trial are crucial and will almost certainly dictate if you succeed or fail in achieving your goal time. In addition, your cardiovascular system takes a few minutes to react before it delivers optimally for your desired intensity. Even if you've performed a solid warm-up, you will be at risk of going anaerobic if you try to maintain your target pace right from the beginning of the time trial. While I strongly recommend using power meters to help with your pacing strategy, it is possible to learn how to pace yourself sensibly without using one. Ups and downs of pace control during time trials. The traditional view among most cycling coaches and riders is that riders should tackle a time trial by adopting a firm but even pace throughout the whole race. But I beg to differ slightly, and I firmly believe that a few reasonable and subtle changes to your pacing strategy will yield a faster overall time. I stress again, it is so vital not to start too fast. Try staying slightly below your planned target power for the first 5 minutes of the time trial. Then after 5 minutes, make sure you ride as close as possible to your target power. Now here's one difference to the ride at an even pace throughout mantra. Try pushing a tiny bit harder uphill and then ease off slightly on the descents. Do this and you will achieve an overall quicker time. Try, it works. About 20 watts more power riding uphill will save you more time than you will lose by reducing 20 watts going downhill. This is because there is a more substantial aerodynamic drag at higher velocities. When it comes to pacing, one great training tactic is to practice completing the distance you will be tackling at a flat-out pace. If you find that your speed slackens off towards the end, then you have gone out too hard. However, if you feel fresh at the end, you probably haven't paced it fast enough. Practice makes perfect, so it's worth practicing until you know for sure what a challenging but sustainable effort over a given distance feels like. So when it comes to judging the right pace, try the following tips. Analyze your last time trial, heart rate, power outputs, etc. Develop a new pacing strategy for your next time trial. Perform specific time trial training with your new pacing strategy. Please note that if you are taking part in a track pursuit, you will have to use a different pacing strategy. So patience is key when beginning a time trial, as starting at a breakneck pace will not lead to better overall times. To ensure success, riders should try staying slightly below their target power for the first 5 minutes of the race and then aim to ride close to their target power for the remainder. Additionally, it can be beneficial to push harder uphill and ease off on descents, as this can yield faster overall times. With practice, riders can learn what a sustainable effort over a given distance feels like and use this knowledge to help them in future time trials. Now, as you get familiar with proper pacing for your time trials, you can take it one step further. Here are some more advanced tricks that will make you faster. Aerodynamics are pivotal to completing a successful time trial, but riders shouldn't get too hung up on arrows. Keep in mind that it is just one part of the overall performance equation. Yes, aerodynamics plays a significant role, but don't get too obsessed. However, some facts are indisputable. One significant point is that 90% of a rider's power output is used to break wind resistance. Wind resistance is the biggest enemy when competing in a time trial. So to counter the elements, finding the optimal body position is crucial, as it minimizes the aerodynamic drag, requiring fewer watts to ride quickly. Pole position on your time trial bike. The position of the body is also where riders can make the most significant improvement to overall aerodynamics. Most riders will benefit from optimal usage of their time trial bars, one of the most significant ways to improve your time trial position. And if your bank balance won't stretch to purchasing a dedicated time trial bike and all the expensive accessories built for brilliant aerodynamics, then nurturing a good aero position of your body is even more critical. There is even a growing view among some experts that the most aerodynamic position for a rider and decrease pedaling efficiency and increase the metabolic rate of effort. Subsequently, this can lead to a cut in the average power output of the cyclist. According to some experts, this power reduction can be 10 to 20 compared to on your road bike. The body position can also become so extreme that it limits your performance even though it is more aerodynamic. However, I believe that with targeted uphill training while maintaining the aero position, it is possible to cut down on this loss of power caused by the aerodynamic body position. If you want practical help adjusting your time trial bike, you should consider a bike fit. This will accelerate your learning curve and secure quick wins. If money is an issue, visiting a bike fitter may be the best investment you can make. Aero test optimizing your time trial position. Wind gallery tests are also beneficial but are expensive. However, there is a straightforward test to gauge the aerodynamic advantage of different bike positions. All that's required is a 300 meters descent with a gradient to allow a 50 kilometers per hour speed without effort on the pedals, followed by an ascent to slow down and stop the cyclist within a reasonably short time. The further the cyclist goes up the hill, the more aerodynamically efficient the body position. This can take a few attempts to eradicate statistical errors, and conditions such as wind, speed, and air temperature have to be taken into account, but in the end, you will find the results are reliable. The frontal area is the most vital aspect in terms of optimal time trial position. Most coaches agree that riders should minimize their chest bagginess and keep their arms and shoulders as close as possible. Other vital aerodynamics tips for your time trial bike include: make your aero extensions as long as the rules allow. Handlebar aero bar height is not as vital as reach. Wear an aero helmet. Consider a professional bike fit. Get your kit on. The last point above is a good one. An Aero helmet. An Aero helmet is an excellent place to start if you have some spare cash to splurge. There is no doubt that an Aero helmet will make you significantly faster, so it's a solid investment. Experts estimate that an Aero helmet alone saves a rider 10 to 15 watts of power at time trial speeds. You could also try lowering the front of the bike, which could be as simple as flipping the stem and fitting some tri-bars, which cost as little as $50. Then, after an Aero helmet, you could start thinking about adding Aero drinks bottles, overshoes, skin suits, and deep section wheels. But it is wise to spend any money you have on making sure you get into a good body position first. And while all this expensive time trial bike equipment is helpful, a pricey kit won't make you go faster if your body acts like a huge air brake. So if your budget is limited, keep in mind that body position should be your main priority. Focus on improving your body position on your current bike and invest time and energy in the areas where you can make the biggest gains. Remember, cut wind resistance and you'll go faster. So you should perform some sort of aerodynamic tests with your current time trial bike. Reduce your frontal area. Make a longer position on your bike. Perform an aerodynamic test with optimistic setup. Repeat these steps until you see gradual improvements. Optimizing body position and reducing aerodynamic drag should always have a high priority. Even at top level, riders focusing on time trials keep spending quite some time making improvements to their time trial setup. Now, aerodynamics is important, but we must never forget that someone is supposed to push the pedals. An efficient pedaling technique can be the biggest barrier to improving performance in time trials. Thus, optimizing pedal stroke should be your next priority after body position and aerodynamic drag reduction. With proper training and practice, cyclists can increase their power output while keeping energy expenditure low during a race. Here's how you can work on your pedaling technique to unlock more speed in your next time trial. In cycling, your time trial training should always be targeted to your goal. So for time trials, you will have to train at a very high intensity if you want to improve your time over a given distance. Make intervals a cornerstone in your time trial training plan. To sustain a strong pace for the duration of a time trial, your training sessions need to be explosive. So interval training is the key, with a combination of sub-threshold, threshold power, and VO2 max intervals. Professional riders target their time trial training towards improving their threshold power. But developing a large aerobic engine will not happen overnight. It demands a considerable amount of training and effort and the adoption of the highest quality training principles over several years. But one thing is sure, time trial riders, just like sprinters and climbers, need an incredible threshold power, as a strong performance at threshold power is obligatory for winning any race. And another thing is sure. Training with very high intensity will boost your ability to continue riding without accumulating lactic acid. VO2 max intervals are a brilliant stimulus for your aerobic system. They also provide a significant boost to your threshold power. VO2 max may not be the most crucial power output. Still, the advantages of learning the skill are immense because the physiological adaptations to VO2 max training are the same as the ones you achieve when training at lower intensities. Also, bear in mind that functional threshold power is only a percentage of your VO2 max. The physiological skills you train with during threshold power intervals are also stimulated at VO2 max intensity. Functional threshold power intervals. These are the most popular way to boost threshold power. The key is to know your power output or heart rate at threshold power and then use these to pace yourself throughout intervals at the same intensity. The best tactic is to tackle a time trial as a yardstick or reference. The toughest part of these intervals is to stay at the right intensity throughout. Setting off a tiny bit too fast will make it impossible to maintain the right power. On the other hand, starting too slowly, you won't benefit from your training adaptations. Functional threshold power intervals are extremely tough but effective in creating a better aerobic capacity, and they are brilliant for any rider who wants to become a better time trial rider. Please remember, high-intensity interval training is only beneficial if you complete them. So while VO2 max and threshold power intervals are the most effective ways of training for a time trial, they will be rendered ineffective and meaningless if you don't complete the actual intervals at the required speed and intensity. So physically and mentally, you will undoubtedly achieve a better training result for a time trial if you opt for intensity with a higher success rate. This is where sub-threshold power intervals come into their own to offer significant improvements. Some experts also argue that there is a physiological sweet spot as you can train at a high oxygen consumption without going anaerobic, with a positive knock-on effect on your aerobic system. So for time trialing, they are excellent for training. I would strongly recommend that you track your training progress using a series of physical performance tests. For example, if you train for a 25 kilometers time trial, watch your power meter file and notice your average watts for such a distance in training. But to remember that the beauty of hard interval sessions is that as you begin to increase the size of your aerobic capacity, you will also boost your power output for that distance. This will allow you to monitor your physical performance and, more importantly, separate these improvements from other improvements caused by improved aerodynamics. One thing is for sure, the magic formula is out there waiting for you. Take action. Sub-threshold power intervals, for example, 2 intervals of 20 minutes each. Functional threshold power intervals, for example, 3 intervals of 12 minutes each. VO2 max intervals, for example 3 minutes VO2 max intervals with 3 minutes active recovery. This is very high intensity, but it can really increase your maximum speed. Also, adding power intervals of 8 to 10 minutes with a relatively slow cadence has proved useful for several of my riders. Such intervals could be performed at the sub-threshold intensity with extra focus on pedaling technique. Here are some other top time trial tips. Many road cyclists with a race or time trial on the horizon see it as a perfect excuse to gorge on a mountain of food. But while carb loading is recommended to a degree, moderation is advised when it comes to time trials. For an event like a 10 or 25-mile time trial, a meal rich in carbs, such as pasta or rice, the night before the race is probably sufficient. There is no reason to eat food high in fat. On race day in the morning, focus on carbs again. Jam on toast is a good choice, while if you prefer cereal, ensure it's low in fat and fibers. En route to the time trial, it is worth sipping an energy drink, while a dose of caffeine may also be advisable. See what works for you and adjust accordingly. Also, stay hydrated during warm-up. For a short time trial of 10 miles, don't bother with a drinking bottle, as time lost sipping the fluid will outweigh the benefits of taking on mid-race fluid. However, after the event, please make sure you have recovery drink ready. Remember that refueling after a time trial is your first step to better performance in your next competition. Failing to warm up properly will mean you won't benefit from all those tough hours of training. One warm-up strategy is to ride comfortably for 10 to 15 minutes and then perform 3 10 to 15 second bursts, not all-out sprints, with a couple of minutes of recovery in between. After that, slightly increase the intensity, so you raise your oxygen consumption in small steps. This protects you from going anaerobic. Aim to warm up for at least 20 minutes, and there is rarely any reason to spend longer than 45 minutes. If you're in a hurry, I have made a video about how to perform a quick warm-up. While psyching yourself up may seem the obvious thing to do, staying calm is probably more important. Get too worked up, and you may be tempted to go off too hard. So instead, stay calm and remain in control of your effort. Remember, if you go off too fast, there is no chance to recover. It is different from rider to rider how they prefer to spend the last hour before a time trial. Putting on headphones with upbeat music that motivates you can be a great way to get in the right mood. Familiarize yourself with the course if possible. This helps and makes sure there are no nasty surprises on the day. It is better to know where any killer hills or potholes are lying in wait. And even on well-marshaled courses, cyclists can still take a wrong turn in the heat of battle. Take notice of how fast you can ride the corners. Is it possible for you to stay in your time trial bar, or should you grab the handlebars? So a time trial requires more than just physical fitness and aerodynamics. It is necessary to be mentally prepared and have the right food intake. If you enjoyed watching this video, I'll be more than happy to get a like from you. Also, please make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel so you don't miss any valuable training tips. Okay, so jump on your time trial bike now and get some training. It's probably good for you.